Recording. Cool. Hey, welcome. My name is Lee Iben. I'm with ActionCOACH Campus here in Washington at the Chamber of Commerce building today, and we have several guests. And today we're going to talk about finances. And everybody, they look at me like big saucers in their eyes, like, no! So one thing that business owners, for the most part, really don't like to talk about. And I get it. This is my third business I've owned. My first business was a dental practice, and I was the business manager. And for 20 years, I'm trying to minimize it because your head is cut off. Oh, my head's cut off? Okay. Good. All right. You can see me, Bear? Okay. Can you see the flip chart? Here, scooch it down just a touch. There we go. Right there. Good. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about finances as a business owner and why that is so important. But before we do, and I'm going old school today, full disclosure, I'm going old school because I've been in so many Zoom meetings this past 4 weeks, and everybody, all the presenters, fall back on PowerPoint as a crutch. So you know what, we'll go old school. We're gonna go markers. All right. So let's first talk about your point of power. This is a mindset thing for us as business owners to have, okay? We call it a point of power. So that's what this is right here. This is our point of power. And we're either above the point or we're below the point. Now, when I talk about below the point, our attitude when we start the day is blame, excuses, and denial. And this is so true when it comes to our finances, because I will ask business owners, do you know what your balance sheet looks like? Have you looked at your balance sheet? Have you updated your business plan lately? And so many people say, no, am I supposed to know that? Do I need to look at those things? And tongue in cheek, I say, they're your numbers. You should know them better than your accountant, better than the IRS. You've got to know your numbers, okay? So we want to be above the point, especially on our finances. We want to have ownership, accountability, and responsibility, always. So how do we get to that point? How do we take on this above the point feeling when it comes to our finances? How do we do that? Well, quite simply, we want to make a game out of it, because it is vital that we know what our numbers are. So we want to make a game out of it. Now, anytime that we have a game, we all have to have a scorecard. So what are the numbers scorecards that we need for our business? It's our profit and loss. Profit and loss. I write like a third grader. Actually, not as good as a third grader. Our balance sheet. And our AR report. Now, depending on the kind of business you're in, you may not have an accounts receivable report. You may not have a goods or services that you deliver. Let's pick on a plumber, for example. If we have a plumber and they go out and they do the job, and then the homeowner says, "Can I write you a check?" And the plumber says, "No, my office will bill you." Okay. What that means now is that we've delivered the service, and it's sitting there in the plumbing. It's all done. Plumber walks away, gets his truck, goes on to the next job. Now the owner of the plumbing company has not been paid for that day. So that's where the AR report comes in, because now how long will it be before I get reimbursed from my customer? And that's so important for us to know that, because 30 days is common, 60 days makes us a little concerned, and 90 days gets us really, really concerned. And I say that because it's a sliding scale that if you're not paid within that 60 days, 90 days, it really falls off that you're going to get reimbursed at all. You've got to work really hard at those receivables that are 120 days out. Every 2 weeks in our dental practice, I was looking at that AR report. I was checking to see if our patients were paying on time. If they weren't paying on time, then I made sure that we got a reminder notice or a phone call out to them after that 30 days. And there's kind of a kick in the teeth, pardon the expression, in dentistry because of the insurance reimbursements. So we would take the insurance payment first, So typically it was 45 days for us to get reimbursed from the insurance company. And then we'd send the notice out to the patient or the patient's parents, because we were in pediatrics. So when that patient got the notice in the mail, it had already been 45 days, a full month and a half since treatment was done. You know how it's like as a parent, right? 45 days feels like 3 years ago. It's like, what is this bill for? Oh yeah, I took all 4 kids to the dentist a month and a half ago, and now I'm just now getting the bill, and here's my remaining balance after the insurance. All right, well, I'll pay that with the rest of my bills in 30 days. Well, now since that service was done, that was 2.5 months out. So this is why this AR report becomes really, really important to us, because if we're not monitoring this thing, all of a sudden this money is getting older and older and older, and it's getting harder and harder and harder for us to collect that cash. It's kind of like if you sell tires, right? You want cash up front because you can't get those tires back. They're going to have wear and tear. If you have a restaurant, you're not going to say, yeah, we'll just bill you for that. I mean, the food's gone and digested. So you want to have really close tabs on your AR report. Your profit and loss statement, that's something you want to check on a regular basis. It kind of gives you the pulse of how your business is going along. It kind of tells you where you're at today. And then, of course, your balance sheet is a really good indicator for the equity you have in your business. Everything has to balance on the balance sheet. All the liabilities have got to equal the assets and the owner's equity or lack of equity in the business. So those are 3 reports that you want to look at on a regular basis. And the more you look at them, and honestly, if you're new to this, and you could be 5 years into your business and never look at these. I have a client that's been 15 years in her business. She has an accountant do her numbers for her, but because the accountant does the numbers, she can't pull these reports up whenever she feels like it. And that's a problem, because these are our temperature checks for our business. And as a business owner, we need to have this information at our fingertips. Absolutely have to. I mean, that's, again, above the point. Who's going to take responsibility for this? We can't just say, well, my accountant won't get it to me. That's below the point. So we have to be able to have this information available to us, because the fun part for us is being able to look at this thing and start to forecast. And we'll talk about that in just a second. One of the things that you need to know too on your A&R report is a thing called a cash gap. So listen, here's a timeline. And here we are on the first of the month, and we buy our inventory, okay? Whatever our inventory is, this is what we've purchased that we're planning to either modify and resell later, okay? So we buy that, and then the person that sold us our inventory, we pay them 30 days later. Okay, great. Well, it takes us 30 days to get the inventory ready to take to market. We take it to market, and now 30 days after that, which is now 60 days, okay, we sell it. And what's our term? Well, our plumber's term was 30 days. 30 days, it's actually 90 days altogether since we got the inventory, 30, 60, 90, okay? We sold it here, okay? Here at 30 days, we paid for it. So we paid our supplier 30 days out, because that's his terms, all right? We're all in business together. Those are his terms, so we paid him. So we wrote the check here, and now we're sitting for 30 days without getting reimbursed, because now we just sold it here. Now our terms are 30 days. So now since we've paid that bill, it is 60 days out that we've been sitting without reimbursement for the inventory that we paid for. This is important for us to know that too, because especially if we're a smaller business and we have inventory, and that inventory may be hairstyling products, it might be what other products or service we have. Again, let's go back to our friend the plumber or the auto mechanic. We bring in those mufflers, we bring in those pipes. Is she in? Hey, Leslie. I think she's there. So we bring that inventory in, we pay for that inventory. I've got a friend up in Iowa City, he owns a men's clothing store. He pays for all those suits. They don't get those on consignment. So until he sells that suit, it's sitting on his shelf, and that cash gap keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And honestly, businesses can go broke if they don't mind their cash gap, if they don't watch their cash gap, because Your inventory goes here, then maybe you buy some more things. All of a sudden, you're running out of cash, and cash is king, right? We're running out of cash because this gap is too far. So there are ways that we can look at on how to manage that cash gap. And especially if we have paid for it here, and now we sold it here, and now we're at 30 days, okay? That's 60 days out. What are we going to do different to make sure we get that money coming back into our business? We're going to be calling them. We're going to be sending an invoice out maybe 15 days after we sell it, rather than waiting for 30. We'll say, all right, we expect payment here, but 15 days later, 2 weeks later, we're sending out another invoice. And that's why they do that. That's why sometimes as a business owner, if you haven't paid for your inventory yet, and you know you got 30 days to pay it, but 2 weeks later you get this bill in the mail, it's like, I just got this 2 weeks ago. Why am I getting reminded? Because they're minding their cash gap, and they've got to watch that as well, because they're a supplier, they're a wholesaler, but they've got to watch their cash gap closely too. Because if they go out of business, you go out of business. And that's why you get those statements 15 days into it after you bought this thing on the honor system, okay? So that's what you want to make sure you manage your cash gap. So keep in mind, as you do your numbers, you're not doing your numbers, again, we're going to go above or below the point. You're not doing your numbers because you have to for your accountant, because you have to for your quarterly payroll taxes, okay, for the IRS or the state of Iowa, Iowa Department of Revenue. You're not, I mean, you have to have your numbers because of that, but that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we're the business owner, and we want to know our numbers. We want to know our score, right? If you follow sports, any sport, the game is more enriching to you if you know the stats, okay? I mean, if you're following your kid in high school football and they're down by just 3 points, all it takes is 3 points to win that game, you're on the edge of your seat, especially if it's coming down to the wire. But if you're not even keeping track as you're talking and drinking coffee, you're just kind of looking over there passively, not the same, it's not the same experience. As a business owner, we are fully engaged in our business. We have to be engaged in our business, and we got to know our score. All right, so now, why do we want to know our score? What's the purpose of that? Because every business out there, either formally or loosely, has to have a business plan. Now I get it. I spoke to several people I've asked them, why did you get into business? And they said, well, because I really like doing this. Okay, that's great. Well, after a while of just doing this, all of a sudden we've hired employees, right? It's an interesting dilemma, really. I'll come back to this, but real quick, as the owner, you start up this business because you like plumbing. You really enjoy plumbing. You're a handyman. You know what? I'm going to start my own little company, and I'm going to start this business, and then I'm going to have customers. Okay? And then as it begins to grow, all right, as it begins to grow, you realize that to take care of your customers, you need more people. So you need a team, okay? And your team will help you out. The interesting thing is, as your business gets bigger, all right, as it gets bigger, this is going to shift. The whole direction is going to shift. You're going to realize that in order for your business to continue to grow, you are going to start taking care of your team. Your team then they're going to start taking care of your customers, because you're duplicating your efforts. You cannot continue to take care of this massive business as it grows just by you yourself. So you realize I need to start taking care of my team. If I'm taking care of my team, they're going to take care of my customers. My customers they're going to keep coming back again and again and again, and they're going to take care of my business, and my business will start to take care of me. But this is interesting, because it's at this point where you realize that you need to start hiring more people, that it causes heartburn for a business owner. Because now it's like payroll taxes. Now I got to do HR. I got to have these systems in place. And all of a sudden you get this pit in your stomach and you're like, right? Except what we don't realize is that the sooner we can wrangle this thing in, and we start to shift and take care of our team and make them more qualified and give them the training that they need and teach them how we do business, they take care of us. So that's important to know that. So talk about that business plan, all right? You got to have a business plan. And at that point, to where you're like, oh, I just like to do plumbing. I'm going to do it on my own. And now you start to hire on more people because the phone is ringing. You're good. You're good at what you do. All right. And your reputation is starting to precede you. You've joined the Washington Chamber of Commerce. There you go, Michelle. That's a free one. And you're getting referrals. And if people say, hey, I really like the plumbing that you do. My neighbor had you over to his house. You guys did a great job. His toilet's not leaking anymore. That bathroom addition looks great. Okay, so now it has become more than just, I think I like to do plumbing, all right? We really need to have a business plan. And what is a business plan? A business plan is going to tell us what our future looks like. That's our plan. We want to know what that business plan looks like. I will guarantee you, if you get to the point where you need to buy another truck and you have to go to the bank to get a loan, the first thing you're going to say is, what's your business plan? What's your business plan? If you don't know what your business plan is, it's time to maybe we need to create one. If you do have a business plan, how long has it been since you've looked at it? Or is it just sitting somewhere in the closet somewhere because it's 5 years old? And business has been good, right? But we need to keep track of our business plan too, because it gives us our roadmap for where we're going to go. One of the interesting things on our business plan, and I love this, especially with small business owners, there's this thing that we all refer to as our break even. Now, as a small business owner, when we talk about our break even, and I was in the same boat too, honestly, when we say, what's your break even? The business owner thinks this, all right, I get my bills paid, I'm breaking even, I'm good. That's not a break even. And let me explain to you what a break even needs to contain. Yeah, paying all your bills. Okay, we'll just put that on there. That's easy. This is your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. But paying all your bills is key. But also make sure that the owner of the business is getting paid. The owner has to get paid. Otherwise, it's just a hobby, all right? An expensive hobby. So the owner needs to get paid. And within our business, we want to make sure that we have a budgeted profit margin. All of this, bills plus the owner plus the profit margin, that's your break even. All right, does that make sense? Because now what we can do is we can take this, add all this up for the year, divide it by 12, divide it by 52 weeks, divide it by the number of days that we're going to work. And we now know how much money we need to see daily to hit our break even, which is not just the bills, but it's the bills plus the owner plus the profit margin. It's all of our employees. It's everything that we want to have our business do for us. And this is so important. Our business should be making money above and beyond what the owner gets paid. All right. The owner should be considered an employee just like the rest of the employees. And this owner now is making an income. They can take it to the bank and say, yeah, I make $60,000 a year. I make $120,000 a year, but my business is also making 10%, 20%, whatever your budgeted profit margin is, that's what you want to have worked into your business plan. All right, so what are fixed expenses? When you look at your P&L statement, you're going to see fixed expenses and you're going to see variable expenses, okay? And part of that is your COGS. You'll see this on your statement from your accountant. COGS. That's fun. What the heck does COGS mean? All right. Well, first of all, fixed expenses. Those are the expenses that do not change, regardless if you do business this month or not. With our pandemic, a lot of us saw the fixed expenses did not change. These are things like our rent. Okay. If we're renting a building, that's a fixed expense. The utilities to keep our building warm in the winter or cool in the summer, all of the things associated with just having a business, regardless of whether or not business happens, those are our fixed expenses. Your variable expenses, those are the things that happen because business is moving, okay? It might be your salary for your salespeople. It might be that inventory that you purchase at wholesale that you intend then to resell later. Those are your variable expenses. COGS is just an acronym for costs of goods sold, and it's a variable expense. It's one of the categories under your variable expense because you need to have this. You need to buy raw material in order to turn it around to make it into a product, okay? You need to buy pipes and pipe fitting material and sealants and whatever else magic a plumber does to make all that happen. But that's all based upon doing business, okay? The warehouse that the plumber has, it doesn't matter if he's doing plumbing or high-tech work in that building, he's still gonna pay the rent. That's a fixed expense. So I hope that makes sense. Variable is because you're doing business, all right? And fixed is you're in business, whether business happens or not. These are the expenses you're gonna have associated with that. All right, let's move on here. Make sure that you ask yourself when you're working on your business plan, how much profit do you wanna make? And there's two ways to look at profit. There's markup, okay? And there's also margin. So what's the difference between markup and margin? Well, let's just take a look. If we're gonna do a markup, say we buy something for $100. $100, there we go, 100 bucks. We buy something for $100 and we're gonna do a 50% markup. Okay, well, so 50% of $100 is $50, right? Markup, 50% markup. Markup percent, or yeah, how much? 50%. Okay, so $50. So we sell it now for $150. What's our profit? Our profit equals $50. That's gross profit, not net, because we're gonna take all of our expenses back out of that, okay? Now, what's our margin? What do we have a 50% profit margin? 50% profit margin. Okay, same thing. We buy it for $100, but now with our 50% profit margin, that $100 represents the 50%, meaning we have to add on the 50%. So we add on another $100. Now this item, we sell it for 200 bucks and we make $100 profit. That's the difference between markup and margin, okay? And you need to know that as well. All right. All right, so once we know what our expenses are, that's really where the fun begins, because when we do a business plan, it is not rocket science to do a business plan. We don't like doing business plans, but you need to kind of know how an Excel spreadsheet works, or at least know how to run a calculator. It isn't rocket science, but we got to know how it works. But once we know what that business plan looks like, so we're going to make a business plan up for XYZ company. Okay. They're the best in town, XYZ company. Business plan, what are we going to do? Expenses. We're going to list all of our expenses for the year for 2021. Skip 2020, it's a wash, all right? We don't like 2020 anymore. It's hindsight's 2020, it's behind us. All right, so what are our expenses going to be for 2021, all right? And we're going to list them all. We're going to list payroll, we're going to list inventory, we're going to list rent, okay? We're going to list, if I got to have a car or a truck, okay? Everything that you can think of for those expenses, we want to list those out, all right? That's part of our business plan, but that's only one part of our business plan. We need to know how much money is going to be in all of our expenses, plus, don't forget, we want to know what our owner's salary is going to be, all right? We want to know what our profit margin is going to be. All of this adds up to some big number at the end of the year. All right. Every business is different. Every business is different, but every business does a business plan. See the similarity? Doesn't matter if you're cutting hair, doesn't matter if you have a restaurant, doesn't matter if you're a plumber, it doesn't matter if you're manufacturing farm equipment, it really doesn't matter. They all have a business plan. All right. And it's particular to that business. So once we have this business, this is only one side of it. The other side is, how are we going to make the money to generate the cash? What do we do? All right. Well, first of all, we need to know how much money do we want to make. And that's where we put in what we call our KPIs. Key performance indicators, KPIs, key performance indicators. And we can have annual KPIs. We can have quarterly KPIs. We can have monthly KPIs. And for sure, we're going to have daily KPIs. So in other words, maybe you like cutting hair. Maybe that's your thing. You really love to cut hair. All right. Your business is growing. You've hired some employees. Your business plan is modified now because you've had to put in the cost of having those employees there. Maybe you need to move into a bigger space. Okay, that's fine. But now that big dollar figure is also going to increase too, because now those other employees are helping you generate more cash for your business. All right. But now we put together our KPIs, and we need to know if I take, say it's $100,000 for the year. Okay. Maybe I'll make it $120,000. That makes it easier. $120,000. You can't even read that. $120,000 for the year. All right. So if that's the case, we know that monthly we need to generate what? $10,000, right? That's provided that we're going to work all 12 months out of the year. We need $10,000. This $10,000 becomes one of our KPIs. We can check at the end of the month. Did I generate $10,000 this month? Yes or no? If I did, I'm on track. If I did not, what do I need to do differently to make sure that next month I can play catch up and get back on my $10,000 per month track? What about weekly? Well, on the average, there's 4 weeks per month, so $2,500 per week, right? Okay. What about daily? Daily, $500 a day. If I'm open Monday through Friday, it's $500 a day. All right. That big figure, this $120,000, includes everything, including owner's salary and profit margin. Everything is in this number here. And then we divide it out monthly. You can do it quarterly, weekly, daily. Now, this is where it gets to be fun, even more so, because now we're saying, all right, what do I need to do to make sure that I generate $500 a day? And I'm a big advocate for keep it simple, stupid. All right. I like to break these things down. If I know that I'm generating $500 cash every day, and I just keep doing that day after day after day, I'm going to hit my goal. All right. That's why we do daily KPIs. All right. And we can break this down even further. Maybe we have 3 employees, 1, 2, 3 employees. Maybe the owner makes, $200 a day. The other employee makes $200 a day. And this third guy's a part-time, so he makes $100 a day. All right. So that helps us to figure out, are our employees contributing to our daily KPI report? Are they on track or not on track? If they're not on track, then that's a topic for conversation. Hey, I noticed this past couple of weeks, you've been off a little bit. What's going on with you? All right. What is it what's happening in your life that you're not quite there with everybody else? What's going on? All right. And this is your sales team. Your salespeople all have goals, right? And quotas. If you ever worked in sales, you know that you have a quota. Why do you have quotas? Because your quota fits into the daily KPI, which fits into the annual goal for the company. That's why salespeople are so important and so vital to our companies, because they're helping us generate that cash. All right. So what are the 3 things that business owners are really concerned about? They're concerned about customers, right? If we have customers coming in our door, we can help measure that toward our KPIs, because we want to know how many customers we need to see that day. They're concerned about revenue, and then they're concerned about profit at the end of the month, end of the year. They want to know that. These 3 things, however, are really, they're just results. They're an end result. Because as a business owner, we have 5 ways that we can affect all 3 of these, okay? We want to take a look at our prospects. And then we want to look at our conversion rate. Conversion rate. In other words, what's it going to take for us to buy customers? What kind of prospect list do I need to buy? How can I generate prospects, and how can I convert them so they become paying customers? All right. Is that a newspaper ad? Is that where I'm going to get my prospects from? Maybe, maybe not. Is that a list that you can buy from a clearinghouse? Will help us get potential names of people who might want to buy my product or service. And how do I convince that prospect to convert them to become a customer. This is the most expensive part, is finding these prospects. Because if you've been in the business for any length of time, you know as well as I do that it's easier to keep an existing customer than to try to go out and buy a new customer or convince a new customer why they should try your product or service. All right. Now, once they become a customer, how do we affect our revenue? Two ways. If we take a look at the number of times per year that our customer buys from us, all right, and we look at a thing that we call average dollar sale. All right, so if I got a customer who's only coming in once per year, how can I convince that customer maybe he should come back 2 or 3 times per year? He loves my product or service. Am I selling something that he could use 2 or 3 times per year? If yes, then how do I affect that? How can I convince this customer he needs to come back more often? Is it, am I going to have a sale? Am I going to do a members only or former buyers only, customer only weekend sale? What are the ways that we can do that? We look at all these things. And then we look at the average dollar sale. What is it that's going to take to have this customer spend more money in my store? Well, what if we did product packaging? What if we haven't raised our prices in the past 6 years? Maybe it's time that we're due for a price increase, maybe a 5% or 10% price increase. I have one client, her average price per sale was $20. And before that, it was $18. I said, look, I think we could go up $1.80. I'm not sure. She did. It's fine. 10% is not that big of a deal. And it catches you up with the cost of living expenses. So average dollar sale, what's other things that we can do besides raise our prices? We can do bundling. We can package things together. You see that all the time. Why do you think Walmart added groceries to their store? Average dollar sale. If you're coming in anyway to buy a tire or a tire iron or something like that, if I have grocery over here, now you're going to pick up milk and eggs and some chips and maybe a 6-pack of beer. And all of a sudden your average dollar sale at Walmart just went through the roof. Now you're not spending $30, you're spending $300. Average dollar sale. Okay. So these are ways that we can look at, we can improve our average dollar sale. And then the last thing, of course, is how much of this, what percent of this revenue can we keep? What's it going to take if I have a 10% revenue budgeted in and I want to get that up to, say, 15%? How do I do that? And we start looking at inventory. We start looking at other things as well. But this is clearly the most expensive way to start. We look at other things first within your business on ways that you can impact your profit at the end of the year. All right, one more thing for you, and we're going to let you go here. The one thing that we're really trying to do through all of this thing is with our customers is we want them to become raving fans of your business. In other words, nobody will sell your business more than your raving fans. If your customers love you so much, they were a suspect, then they were a prospect, now they're a customer, now they're a repeat customer. Now all of a sudden, when they get to the point to where they advertise for you, where they tell their neighbors and their friends about, you know, come to Dodici's. It's the best food around. If you want Italian food, that's the place you want to go. Come to Dodici's. If I tell my friend Barry and Lisa, who live down on Airport Road, if I tell them about that, they're going to love it. They're going to go, and then they're going to tell their friends. And now all of a sudden, we've got raving fans working for us on our behalf. And that's why our customer service is so important. Another thing that business owners need to really work on, especially with their employees, all right, the kid that comes in and helps out on the evenings, all right, is he needs to understand the value of this customer service. Why is that important? It's important because if I go get my hair cut once a month, not that I really need it because I'm old and gray, but if I go get my hair cut once a month and I spend an average of $50 per trip, and I go every month for a year, that's $600 that year. the cost of that customer, the value of that customer. Say I'm 58, say I get my haircut until I'm 68, and then I decide to cut it myself, and no one will talk to me anymore after that. But okay, so say for 10 years, I get my haircut for $50 every single month, $600 per year times 10 years. The value of that client or that customer is $6,000. It's important that we know this, and it's important even more so that we tell our employees this. Because when we know that someone's value to us as a business, the lifelong value of a customer is in the thousands of dollars, then that customer that stops in for dinner that night and spends only $40 with us, we're going to treat them like a king. Because we know that, okay, it's a $40 meal today, but they're going to come back next week and bring their friends. They're going to come back next month. They're going to book us for a Christmas party, and all of a sudden, this average lifetime value of that customer is in the thousands. One customer in the thousands. Okay, so I hope this helped out today. Again, you want to know what your financials are. You want to know why you want to know what your financials are, because it's your scorecard. It's your pulse on your business, and it will help you to forecast your business going into 2021. All right. Don't look at your numbers as drudgery. Look at them as keeping score for your business. If you have any questions about any of this, reach out to me. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Call Michelle at the chamber, and she'll give you my information. Lee Iben at ActionCOACH.com, but call Michelle Redlinger here at the chamber. If you have any questions about any of this that I covered today, by all means, let us know. Bear, good? Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Okay. Thanks, Leslie, for joining us. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye-bye.